David Gilmour. Good old Davey G. If you're watching this video, David Gilmour probably rips at your soul whenever he plays, just like he does for me. And today, we're going to look at 4 things that make David Gilmour just so good. Welcome, my friends. This is Saint Luminous. I'm so glad you're joining me today for one of my probably top guitar players out there, David Gilmour. Now, honestly, I could go for hours talking about all the different things that David Gilmour does. But we're going to, make this small, concentrate on just 4 things today. First thing that we're going to talk about that makes Gilmour so fucking good is, wait for it, he follows the chords. If you watched my previous videos about Marty Friedman and Joe Satriani, one of the things I said that was so good about them is that they follow the chords. David Gilmour is no different. The reason why he sounds so melodic and you're so taken in by what he's playing is because he's following the chords. And I bet you in his head, he's thinking about the chords that are being played. He knows the chords are being played, and he plays his solos according to the chords. So let's do it. I'm going to start with the solo from Mother. Mother, do you think it's dangerous? By the way, this is what makes it cool, is that the song, just before a solo, it's in 3/4. And then suddenly when Gilmour plays, it's in 4/4. Nevertheless, here's the chords. G to C, G to C. So there's this alternate between G chord to C chord, and then they really change up. D chord, C chord, and then C chord, or G chord, and there's the end of the solo. So keep that in mind. G chord to C chord to G chord alternating. Finally, they change it by putting just one time, they put in a D chord. So let's start with the beginning of the solo, right? Okay, so remember, starts with G chords. What does Gilmour do? Starts with the note G. That note is G. Really soulful, too. Lets it hang out. But it's a bend. Do you see that? It's a bend. What is he bending to? This note right here. That's a D. So in a chord, a G chord, G major, the notes are G, B, and D. So let me play that G chord. Gilmour bends up to this one. Okay, do you hear it? It fits beautifully in there. So he's showing off the G chord by bending up to D. And then next, after that, then he has this come down. Okay, what note is that? It's a C. Of course it's a C, because guess what the next chord is? Yeah, the C chord. Remember, we talked about that. C chord. Let me play it. You hear it? It just fits like a glove into the C chord. So let me do those 2 little licks. G chord. Here comes the C chord. And now there's next little lick. That note right there that I'm playing, it's an E. The note is E. It's part of the C chord. Let's listen. Fits like a glove. So he had the C, and he plays that E. So again, he's really showing off the C chord. Next lick. Now the chord has changed back to G. You can hear it. You could also see it too if you're familiar with the bar chord, right? Where my ring finger's at. What a sweet lick. What a great way just to go back to that G chord. And then the next lick for that solo is, because the C chord is coming up. Ah, do you see it? You know the C chord. Yeah? What a great way just to go to that C chord. What I like, though, this is so cool. This is so fucking badass. Really makes that sing. So he bends. to the D, which is not part of the C chord, but he's not really emphasizing the D. He's emphasizing the C, bending up to. So he's really emphasizing that C, but that bend on a heavier string to D. So cool. I mean, I'm definitely going to use that in one of my solos somewhere. So here's the C. Now the next chord is, guess what? G. And what does David Gilmour do? What do you think? Plays a note that's part of the G chord? Of course he does. Okay, this is the note A. Because remember, the G chord is now playing, and he bends the A up to B. That's what that note is. So let me play the G chord. Listen to it. Oh, fits like a glove. Next note, C. Now you guessed it, right? The C chord is playing. Here's where they throw in the new chord. The D chord comes in. So what does Gilmour do? I think you can guess it, right? He's playing a note that's part of D chord. So now the band is going to play. Really starts with the G to C, G to C, G to C, and now suddenly you play the D. That D chord really sticks out. So Gilmour is really going to show that off. He takes this note E, bends it up to F sharp, which is part of the D chord. The D chord is D, F sharp, A. Oops. You hear that? Fits like a glove. That's a D. Still in the D chord. Now here comes the C chord. Of course he's going to match the C chord. He bends this note D up to E, because in a C chord you have C, E, and G. Ends on the C. Oh, it just fits. Then he has a cool little lick. So here's his last little lick with the C chord playing and going into the G chord. But what is that note right there? G. It's a G note. So you can tell he's so good because he's following the chords. And I can bet you anything, you guys, if you throw some random chords at David Gilmour, he's not thinking, which particular scale he's going to play. He's going to play according to the chords. So now let's by the way, that's a very simple key to play in, the key of G. G to C to D. It's all in the key of G. You could even get away with just G pentatonic if you just major pentatonic if you just want to shred away. But Gilmour doesn't do that. Now let me do one more that's really interesting. Chord changes. I really like this song. I don't know about you, but I like this one. His Louder Than Words solo at the end. I'm just going to play the beginning of the solo because it starts with a D chord, but it is not in D major. So it's a D to an A minor. Yeah, you hear that? Very Pink Floyd, by the way. D to A minor. So here's the deal. If you're just thinking of scales, it's not going to work. Because if you're just saying, oh, it's a D chord, so let me play a D major pentatonic, it's not going to work. All right? So, and it doesn't matter. If you try to think of the relative minor, it's not going to work for you, okay? Which would be B minor. You just say to yourself, oh, well, let me play a B minor pentatonic. It's not going to work because you're going to have a problem. When you go to that and you hear, it sounds cool. It doesn't, it does something really awesome. So you can't just play one scale. But of course, Gilmour doesn't do that. He plays to the chords. So let's check it out. D chord is playing. Here's what he does. Okay, he does a cool little lick at the beginning, and the notes are A, D, E, F sharp. Maybe you remember, in a D chord, the notes are D, F sharp, and A. So what does he do? He bends up to the F sharp. The D chord is still going, so he's going to add a little bit. I love that too. That is like really cool. I'm going to have to get into those little subtle things in a different video that he did. Nevertheless, sounds so cool with the D chord. Here comes the A minor chord. So he better change it up a little bit to match that A minor chord. He can't stick in that D major chord or even a D major pentatonic. He's going to have to change it up, and he does. Yeah, you hear that? He plays a C note. That's part of the A minor chord. A, C, E are the notes in an A minor chord. After that, I think he just plays a couple licks in his mind. He's just playing some licks in A minor pentatonic. The A minor chord is still playing. And the one he ends that with this note, an A note, which is part of A minor. Okay, so you see what he's doing? He's following the chord changes. The more you keep learning his solos, and any great player, you're going to find out they follow the chord changes. Okay, so there was number one. Number two that makes David Gilmour so fucking good is he plays clean solos. Remember, this is still rock music. And even today, you know, if you're going to be cool, you're a rock player or a heavy metal, you're going to play distortion. You got to have distortion. It's always about fucking distortion. And here's Gilmour playing probably, at least in my opinion, one of his best solos ever. And it's a clean solo. This is the first solo from Shine On You Crazy Diamond. This is, in my opinion, his best solo. This is what really drug me into the world of Gilmour, this solo. Okay, so once again, he's following chord changes. I'm going to have to beat this into your brain until you get it. Follow the chord changes. So it's in G minor. Rick Wright is playing it on the keys. So he's playing then having this bed of G minor, right? But there are going to be chord changes. And I'm going to get to that. So here we go. Look at the first, just how he starts it. Clean, right? Oh, I should play it a little louder. Hold on. So you can see this from a G minor pentatonic over here at the 15th fret. He takes this. This is a blues lick. That's what's so cool. It's clean, but it's a bluesy lick. Still sticking to the G minor. And by the way, this, when I started, that's bending up to a G note. Of course it fits with a G minor chord. It's a G note. This little lick, I mean, that almost literally is Blues 101 for just a simple blues lick. But he's bending this note to a D, which is part of the G minor chord. Now, the rest of it, he's still matching chords, but they're just cool licks. I mean, look at this. Now, when I just played that, the chord changed to a D minor. But you hear that note fits like a glove. Let me play it again. Still a G minor chord. Here's a D minor. And then he plays a sweet little lick, which is kind of almost like a D minor arpeggio. So that note right there is an F. You can hear it just fits, follows the chords. And then bends up to an interesting note, a B flat, because the chord has changed now to a C minor. It's not part of a C minor triad, but if you extend it, or you keep learning about music, you'll see it's the flat 7 of a C minor 7 chord. But the main point of this, I'm not going to go into the rest of the solo, because as you being able to tell. He's got a great feel, but he's playing clean. Now, let me do something for you. You heard that I'm trying to get a light touch. Let me pick harder and just really beat the shit out of it. You hear that the feeling isn't the same when you just are like a gorilla and you beat the hell out of the strings. So Gilmour just has a lovely touch when he plays. He's really working with the amp, his high watt amp, and any pedal he used. I'll have to look that up, what pedal he used. But he's, I think on that one he used a high watt amp. And he's just got a great touch. It's very soft. You don't hear this clicky attack. And he probably used a compressor in front. I'm not using a compressor. But when he plays it, I mean, that's what always got me. Let me turn it up. It took me a while to get that feeling. I had to pick a little softer. So clean solos. It's simple, yet a lot of people won't play clean. This is number 2 of what makes Gilmour so fucking good. Okay, number 3 that makes David Gilmour so fucking good. It's his use of double stops and the space he leaves in between notes and licks in his solo. It's just contrary to what rock guys tend to do. We tend to just play, leaving no room to breathe. And but Gilmour does, and I think he's really taking after B.B. King and Albert King, the blues. We'll do a video about Albert King, but if you ever really watch live video of Albert King, look at how much space he leaves in between his notes. And a lot of it, I think, is just Albert sitting there going, yeah, listening to the band groove along. He really wants to get a feel, and he wants to listen to those guys just really play tightly and play a good jam. And fortunately for this solo, which is Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, I mean, it's a great groove. Come on. It is such a killer groove. And it could be that Gilmour is just sitting there doing the Albert King thing saying, yeah, when he recorded, he's listening to his headphones going, yeah, let that breathe. Let's hear the rest of this band jam. Let's hear the rest of these guys do their thing, and then I'll react accordingly. So let's go ahead and play it. Double stops. Okay, let me just tell you, what is a double stop? There's a lot of different terms for these. I call them double stops. I saw somewhere on the web they called it dyads. I just stop with that stuff. It's fucking double stops. The people playing out there call it double stops. Okay, so what is a double stop? Double stop, it really is just playing 2 notes at the same time. Okay, so in this case for Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, he's playing in D minor. So that would be a double stop. That would be a double stop. We call that single note or single note solo. So it's his great use of double stops. A lot of players use double stops. A lot of 70s and 80s player. Kirk Hammett. I mean, if you look at Kill 'Em All, there's a lot of double stops in there. Okay, so let me go ahead and play it for you really quick so you get the idea. I forgot it until I did it. He did something really cool with the double stops. He plays the double stops and bends them up just a little bit. Oops. That's so cool. Okay, and he leaves a huge amount of space before his next lick. So to give you guys an idea of how much space he's leaving there, I've got a metronome here in front of me. I'm going to play to the metronome. This particular lick starts on beat 1. Listen to how much space there is between the licks. Okay, so there you go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. the metronome, it's way harder to get into a groove because of that click, click. But I did it to show you how much space there was in between that, right? You can hear click, click, click. I'm not doing anything. Neither is he. He's letting the band play. That use of double stops and the space between the notes. I mean, you're just sitting there like listening to the band going, well, what's coming next? What's going on? And so in my mind, it's kind of like speaking. Instead of just mumbling on, blah, 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 he's going ahead playing tasty licks and then letting it breathe, letting it sit there with nothing going on. This is a trait of very, very good old-fashioned blues players. So there is number 3, double stops. I don't have time for in this video, but have a cigar. There's a lot of double stops in there too, and you can find them in tons of David Gilmour solos. So double stops, a lot of space. Kick ass. So fucking good. All right, number 4 and last in this video, kick ass riffs. That's what makes David Gilmour so good. It's not just about solos. Listen to some of those riffs. I'm going to start with Run Like Hell. And it's very interesting because it's the chords are so simple, but it's how he plays those chords along with the effects. So first of all, let's just talk about the effects. Okay, so I have a little bit of flanger, and he used an electric mistress, Ruben Electro Harmonics. So I'm using a different flange from a Kurzweil, so I'm not using a pedal. And listen to these delays. So I have it set to the tempo of the song. So let's listen to these delays. So I've got the delays really high, but that's because it needs to work with the playing. So listen to this. So already you're getting that groove from it with these delays. I have them up high just like he did, but it kind of gives a reverb-like sound. When I start playing, you're going to hear it really gives this big washy sound. That combined with the flange just gives this killer sound. So it's really, that's part of it. Okay, but let's just look at the chords. A lot of you might know that big D chord, but he doesn't play that. He plays this little triad, this little tiny one. And then plays the A triad. Then a G. And then a D. Which is, some of you might know it's part of that. So, then plays the A, G, right? Beginner chords, we call them cowboy chords. I've told this to my guitar students for years, you know, that these kind of chords, like a D chord that you might find in a beginner book, professionals use them all the time because they sound so damn good. So that's the A that's in all beginner books. So that's it. There's not, but with a cool rhythm, these cool effects, I'm going to play it for you. You're just going to hear, it's a killer, killer riff. Let's do it. All right. Big. I mean, what a massive sound. So, and that's all done with, right? All those delays, a little bit of flange added in there, and suddenly, whoops. Yeah, just makes it a massive sound. So you don't need much to sound massive. All right, speaking of kick-ass riffs, the last one. Back to Shine On You Crazy Diamond. I'm just going to play it. Listen to this. I mean, seriously. I mean, it just leaves you in this crazy ass space. That's unbelievable. Shannon, you crazy diamond, remember it's in G minor. So I'm just going to teach you a little bit about that. I'm playing the G minor bar chord, so you know. But when he's playing this part, he's got a note that's really not part of a regular G minor or even a G minor 7 chord. That open E string. So he's got these. So a G minor chord is G, B flat, D. But he adds this extra E in there. So there's a B flat. There's an F. So G, B flat, D, F is a G minor 7 chord. So he's got the G minor 7 thing going on. There's the B flat. There's the F. There's a G. So he's got this E, G minor 6 or G minor 13. In my mind, it's the same thing. You're adding the 6, the major 6. So it's kind of a G minor 13, like a Dorian. But regardless, it's what makes it so cool is the open strings. And no matter how you slice it, any chord on a guitar, this is very specific to guitar, any chord that uses open strings tends to shimmer more and just sound amazing with modulation here, which is, I'm using a phaser. But, flanger, chorus, whatever, when you play chords that have an open string, it for some reason it starts to shimmer a little bit more. So I'm going to leave you with this. Taking you off into the unknown. What an amazing riff. And the band comes in, but when it stands by itself with that pad and the little glasses tinking around, oh my God, it's the most amazing thing ever. So it's absolutely brilliant, especially in its simplicity. Thank you so much, my friends. Hey, go ahead and please subscribe to this channel if you have not. Also, go ahead and tap that notification bell so the next video that comes out, you can be notified when that's happening. Also, I have a video for you right over here that you can watch and check out. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you soon.